Well guys, I am about to change the front tire on my ST1300. It's pretty much all gone and I've been neglecting it a little bit too long. You want to change it before it gets to this level. I mean, it is on this left side, it's definitely much more worn than the right side. And we're also going to check our brakes and lube our axle and all of that good stuff. So this is a 04 ST1300. And this process should be similar for every ST1300. So let's get started. You're going to use a 6mm and we're going to loosen these two, and then there's two on the other fork. We're just going to loosen it. And I'm just going to use my wrench here. And sometimes these could be kind of tight, so what you want to do is use some sort of leverage. And I have this breaker bar. That was very easy. We're just going to loosen that up. And then we're going to get the other one. And you can even hit it if you don't have a bar. And that loosens it very easily. Same thing here. We're just going to loosen it. If it's too tight, just use some leverage. I have this bar that I use often. And then I'm going to do the other one really quick. And now, I like to make sure that both are completely loose, but I'm not going to remove them. You don't have to remove them. This is not a metric one, but it'll work. You see the bike wants to come up. So I'm going to hold it down. There we go. It's already loose. You don't need that much. So that's the cover I just removed. You're going to put a 17mm here and just loosen it. And that rotates freely. Should be easy to rotate. And what I do is, like, I kind of put it on an angle and I push out, and you can see it's spinning and coming out. If you hold the wheel up, it'll remove some of the weight on the wheel, so you can remove it. The axle looks nicely greased. And there we go. There's the axle. So using a 6mm, I'm just going to undo this here. I owned an ST1300 before this one, but I forgot how to do the maintenance to it. 12mm, I'm going to loosen this bolt. That we need to push back on the caliper. If not, we're going to have to remove a few more bolts. Same size, 12mm, and we're just going to undo that one. By the way, the brakes on this are fantastic. Honda does a good job on a lot of their bikes. There we go. There's the calipers. And one thing that you're going to have to learn to do is you don't want to let your brakes hanging off the lines. By the way, these are traditional lines and they're very effective. A lot of people replace them with steel braided brake lines. Out pretty far, and there we go. So didn't need to do much to it, but now I have the wheel off. I don't want my brakes hanging. I'm just going to take a bolt and I am going to just thread it in here. When you remove the wheel, this side that's got the ABS teeth, there's this on here, and on the other side there's another one that I removed. And it is different than the other side, so different sizes. Just keep them together, but when you change out the tires, this stuff falls out. That's why it's important to note which one is which. So just so you guys know, the bigger one goes off into the ABS unit. The other one, it's the other side. So keep note, the rotation of the wheel on the ST's got an arrow on the rim and on the tire. We are going to be just removing the valve from the tire. You don't have to remove it, but I find it's just like... This next section, you can watch any of my other videos where I remove tires. I just use tire levers. You might want to take care of not to scratch the rim by putting like a piece of plastic or even a bottle that you cut. That way you don't damage it. So we're gonna get started. First we have to break the bead out of the tire. This is the tire that I bought. It's a Shinko, what is it? Shinko whatever. It was Shinko 120/70 F011. So changing a tire on a bike like this is exactly the same as you would do for any bike. It's virtually the same. So it's like, first you have to break the bead on these tubeless tires. What I do is I take a tire lever and I just go around like this. And I try and push it down on one side. This kind of creates a little bit more space. Once you have done this, the entire thing, you want to just reverse your tire lever and then counter it like this. At least this is what I do. It's not exactly the professional way, but I'm not a professional. But, you know, this works. And it's already coming off the rim. I'm actually not even needing to do anything else. It's already popped off the rim. And just kind of remove it from one side. And one side is off. Now we're going to flip this and break the other side. Same thing. Put your tire lever in there like this and just go around doing this. And when you have space to kind of put your tire lever, you can reverse it. Now I can slide it in. It's hard in the beginning and then it gets better. So I'm like reversing the spoon. This is the worst thing about motorcycle maintenance in my opinion, is the tire changes. Hence the reason I always dark side tires. It's like, I hate having to do this. There we go. And it popped off, so just go around the tire and just slide it all out. And now we have to pull the tire from the rim. This is the part where you want to take care not to scratch your rim. The first thing I'm going to do is I have water and soap, and I'm just going to put it on my tire and rim. Nothing special, this is just water and soap. Now I cut these little bits of plastic, and the reason is you're going to have to like cram your tire lever here, and you want to put something if you don't want to scratch it. Normally I'm not that worried about scratching rims, but this bike is kind of mint, so I'm going to try and keep it mint. And kind of push up on the tire. The first part is really the hardest. And once you get it up here, I put it right behind the rotor. And now I'm going to take another tire lever, and I'm going to do the exact same thing in another section. I'm just going to put this piece of plastic here. There we go. Now I'm going to put it right behind the rim as well, and I will take more of my soapy water. This doesn't seem to be that effective, but it does work. And now I'm going to rotate this, same thing. I'm going to look for a part where it grabs that tire right here. I'm going to put this piece of plastic, and it's starting to come out. So now I'm just going to take my tire levers, the one that actually fell, and I'm going to simply just work my way around. And I'm not even going to bother putting something in there because it's going to pop out. You see, it just came out really easy. You know, the reason I started doing this is bike shops around this area, they are very expensive. This might be like $100, and honestly, I think it's worth $100. I hate doing this. So now we have the rim almost ready to pop out. We have to get more here, and I'm gonna just take my soapy water, just gonna wet this as much as I can. This is the tool I'm gonna be using. I'm gonna slide this through here, and I'm gonna be pulling it off to the other side. But you don't have to use that. You could just use regular tire levers. I'm probably gonna start, I'm just gonna put my plastic down, and you can start like kind of pushing it off to the side, and you can see it creates this gap. And this part is a little bit harder with one hand. There we go. You see it's kind of coming off, but this is the part like that I use this tool because it goes all the way, creates a lot of leverage. You just want to make sure that, there we go, and it's kind of just sliding off. Now I'm just going to take this, the tool's already off, and I'm just going to do that, and that's the rim off of the tire. What I like doing, just putting the old tire down, and we're going to put the new tire in. First, we're going to have to figure out the rotation of the tire. Look for the arrow. Rotation's going the other way. So now, let's see. Rotation, it's going this way. I'm going to take my tire, and I'm going to make sure that my rotation is correct on it. Just kind of line up that with the tire. So once you are pleased that the rotation is correct, we're going to do the soapy water mix really liberally all over the tire. Just make sure you get it everywhere, including the rim on the inside. Make sure not to use WD-40 for this. I've used WD-40 before. So now I'm just going to take my tire, start pushing it down. Once it won't go anymore, you're going back to the tire levers. And just kind of push, move it down, and there we go. So one side is down. Now we have to make sure that our valve stem is correct. So that's our valve stem, and I'm going to look on the other side for where we want it. That's the dot right over there. That's where we're going to center it. Soapy water as you can, and just put it all over, including on the rim part. Okay, perfect. And there we go. There's our marks. And now we're going to take our tire levers and start working this. Like that. This is going to take a little bit more time. This side is a little bit harder to do. Just remember, go nice and slow. Take your time. Sometimes, if you're wrestling with a tire, you haven't gotten one part right. It's as if you have to relieve pressure on one side. You see this part is kind of coming up. Try to push this down a bit. I'm gonna take this. Like that. sometimes flip it over, and it helps to push this part in. That way you have plenty of space to get the other side. So I'm just going to push this part out. This is going to give me room to work with on the other side. Okay. I should mention I am not a tire expert. I hate doing this. I would rather pay. But since I'm financially challenged, you're kind of forced to do this. Put your feet on it if you can. And you kind of want to push this other side down. I think that's what I always did wrong, is some of these sides. There we go. Now I'm standing on it because it helps to have somebody helping you. Kind of do this. Slowly at a time. There we go. Almost there. Now I'm going to see if I can slide this one in. And it wants to go in. This is the part where scratching your rims is not good. Now it wants to go in. Scratch that rim. There we go. Oh well, he'll buff out. And valve stem is in there. Right, so now that we have our compressor, we're going to take some pressure. Make sure you don't put your fingers in between the rim and the tire. You're going to hear 2 pops, hopefully. If not, we're going to have to put pressure on the actual tire, because this part is kind of popping out, and usually it's a little bit on the harder side. So there we go, air's going in. It's inflating. You should hear 2 pops, 1, 2. That means that the bead has sat on the rim. Now we're going to start taking our pressure. We're going to inflate it up to what you would like. I believe this one's like 35 or 40. Tire requires a break-in. If you don't know anything about motorcycles, the tires that you get require about 100 miles of breaking in, so don't push it too hard in the beginning. It takes just some time to get used to every tire. Every tire handles differently. A lot of times when you put in a new tire, you're going to feel the suspension actually behave a whole lot better. That's because tires are part of the suspension. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.